Still we are adopting the methodology of online classes due to COVID-19. And today BA semester 5th students population studies paper, according to timetable, I will deal with mortality measurements. So this is the part of syllabus, dear students. So very carefully just listen and see and try to note and try to prepare your notes that what are the various measurements of mortality. As earlier I also taught you about the fertility measurements. So just like the fertility measurements, the second component of population change is a mortality, which you have to deal through measurement. So let's start with the introduction. So first you have to deal with the definition of death as per WHO, World Health Organization. And dear students, you all know it in the era of COVID-19, daily basis WHO representative comes and tell about the situation of the COVID-19 in the world. And they also express their concerns about the fatality rate, that is called as a mortality rate in a specific case, and that WHO defines that the permanent disappearance of all evidences of life at any time after birth, that is called death. This is very natural. Permanent disappearance of all evidence. If you have taken birth, that there is evidence of life, and if that evidence of life is permanently disappeared, that is called as death. यानी जीवन के बाद मृत्यु से कहते हैं जब इस जीवन का समूल अस्तित्व न दिखाई पड़े, वो मौत होती है. तो WHO ने उसको डिफाइन किया है. बट यू हैव टू डील विथ मॉर्टेलिटी. सो व्हाट इज मॉर्टेलिटी? This is a demographic event, that is the average risk of dying of a person in the group during a time span. So this is how study begins. Okay, so this is one of the three determinants of population change, that is fertility, mortality and migration. This is the three major components of population change. And now today we are dealing with the mortality measurement. Okay, so what are the factors that affect the mortality patterns? And dear students, very carefully you have to observe these two patterns. That is, one is called as endogenetic, that is biological, and that biological is a natural. He or she who take birth, she or he have to die. This is biological, this is natural. But second is exogenetic, and this is a case of our study. Exogenetic means environmental or today sthiti pandemic. These all are the exogenetic effects of mortality. ये हमारे लिए कंसर्न का विषय है कि जो व्यक्ति जन्म लेता है वो नेचुरली मरता है तो उसके लिए कोई बहुत कंसर्न का विषय नहीं होता है. लेकिन कोई व्यक्ति जन्म लेता है और कोविड से मर रहा है, डिजीज से मर रहा है, एक्सीडेंट से मर रहा है, माल न्यूट्रिशन से मर रहा है, भूखमरी से मर रहा है, पॉवर्टी से मर रहा है, लैक ऑफ सैनिटेशन से मर रहा है, लैक ऑफ सेफ ड्रिंकिंग वाटर से मर रहा है, that is a part of economics and that is a part of policy framework. So that's how we have to read this topic. Okay, so let's start with the rate. Students, mortality rate is typically expressed in units of deaths per 1,000 individuals per year. Very simply you have to remember this. Okay, and thus we can say that a mortality rate of 9.5 out of 1,000 in a population of 1,000 would mean 9.5 deaths per year in that entire population, or we can say that 0.9% out of the total. So this is how you have to begin with the rate. Okay, and here again we have to distinguish between morbidity and mortality. You have to also learn about what do you mean by morbidity. Already I told you mortality, and nowadays in the era of COVID-19 everyone is talking about the COVID-19 death. So we can say that example that one person in a town of 100 people died from if coronavirus, then the mortality rate of COVID-19 is 1 out of 100, and that is 1%. This is mortality rate of a corona. And what is morbidity? Rate of incidence in a population. That means how many people have been affected through this coronavirus. This is called morbidity. बीमार बने रहने की दर. So there is difference between mortality and morbidity. So example, 10% in a town of 100 people, if currently have the COVID, the morbidity rate of COVID-19 is 10 out of 100 and it is 10%. That means morbidity is higher than mortality, and that is a natural rate phenomena. Okay. So these two terminology you have to learn, and then let us start that by this formula you can calculate the mortality rate, that number of deaths divided by number of total population into K. K is denotes to 1000. So I earlier told you that mortality rate is per 1000 total number of deaths in that given time in the given population. Okay. So the term is called as crude death rate. That is CDR. So crude death rate is D by P into 1000. D is the number of deaths in population during given calendar year, and P is the average number of person living in the population during the year. So this is called as CDR. So in brief or in as a short notes, as a short question, anybody can ask you what do you mean by CDR. Here you have to write CDR is a crude death rate. By defining CDR, you have to write this formula. Okay. So death rate is a simple, as per formula, you can say number of deaths divided of total population into K. K is 1000. You can depict is a hypothetical example, and then by giving any country's example, you can explain what is death rate. And then, dear students, there is another term called child mortality rate, CMR. And that is also maybe called it CDR, child death rate. So what is child death rate? Number of deaths of children aged 1 to 4 years in a given year and region. This is very important, in a given year and in a given region, divided by total population aged in the same year, in the given year and the given region, into 1000. So per 1000 calculation of CDR can be formalized like this. Okay. And then comes in two parts. That is, before talking about the infant mortality rate, there is a two part. That is neonatal mortality rate, NMR, and early neonatal mortality rate, NMR. Okay. So number of infants dying with the first 4 weeks out of or up to 28 days, that is called as neo-mortality rate. And formula is death of infant up to 4 weeks divided by number of live deaths into 1000. Same formula but specific period. Okay. And neonatal means number of infant deaths during first 7 days only of per 1000. So ENMR means deaths of infant in the first week of life divided by number of live births per into 1000. So this is two type of measurement which generally we used to calculate in the developing countries like India, and then we suggest the better healthcare system in the particular country. And again the one separate measurement called age specific death rate. As we suggested, there is a child mortality rate, specific age up to 4 years. In any age group, we may calculate the age specific death rate by, for example, I have calculated 40 to 44 deaths of people aged 40 to 44 divided by total population in same age group into K. So per 1000 calculation of every age group, that is called as age specific death rates. So this is another measurement. And then every death have a specific cause. For example, nowadays corona is a specific cause of death around the world. So this is cause specific death rate. So in this example, I have depicted the term cancer, but you can write here COVID. That deaths from cancer or deaths from COVID divided by total population in K. You can calculate the total cause specific death rate. So this is another type of measurement of mortality rate. And then The very important is a infant mortality rate. The example of infant mortality rate or the definition of infant mortality rate is number of infants dying under 1 year of age in a year per 1,000 live birth in a given geographical region. So we can say, dear students, IMR is equal to D0 divided by P into 1,000. What is D0? 0 means number of infants who died before celebrating their first birthday. And that is called a D0. They have not completed even 1 year. Okay? And B is a total number live births occurring in the same geographical region. So this is a formula of IMR. And next, we can depict in a example also. Same formula and hypothetical example. Okay? And then the last but not least is a maternal mortality rate. That is a very important. Many sources use of maternal mortality ratio and the maternal mortality rate interchangeably to mean the number of maternal deaths per 1 lakh live births. So here we are calculating maternal mortality rate. जो मातृत्व मृत्यु दर होता है उसको 1 लाख में हम लोग निकालते हैं. The World Health Organization WHO, however, distinguishes the two: maternal mortality ratio, the number of maternal deaths per 1 lakh live births, a measure of the risk of death once a woman has become pregnant. So what WHO's measurement, for example, there is a town which has 1,000 people, 11 women in the town become pregnant, 1 baby miscarries, 10 women give birth to 10 live babies, 1 of the women who gave birth died due to complications in the pregnancy. The maternal mortality ratio is 1 out of 10, and that is 10%. So we can also measure the maternal mortality rate by any specific data. Okay, so the number of maternal deaths in a given period per lakh women of reproductive age during the same time period is a maternal mortality rate. And we can give, by giving the example, number of maternal deaths divided by number of live births, deaths, number of maternal deaths divided by total live births into K is equal to maternal mortality rate. I have given one example, 185 by this much into 1 lakh is called 13.1. So out of 1 lakh, 13.1 is a maternal mortality rate. So this is how we can express. And the last but not least is life expectancy. In practice says, a maternal death is defined as the death of women while pregnant of within 42 days. And life expectancy is an estimate of the average number of additional years a person could expect to live if the age-specific death rates for a given year prevailed for the rest of his or her life. Life expectancy is a hypothetical measure because it is based on current death rates, and actual death rates change over the course of person's lifetime. So dear students, each person's life expectancy change as he or she grows older and as a mortality trends change. Through this, we can also narrate and differentiate between developed and developing countries. And this is the summarize which I will send you, dear students, summarize of the whole rates of age-specific mortality rate, birth rate, fertility rate, infant mortality rate, prenatal mortality rate, neonatal mortality rate, and case fertility rate. Through this, you can prepare separate notes on the measurement of mortality. Thank you very much. Take care.